I'm still so pissed off, Chris, about this Twitter thing. I can't even think straight. FOBIATV.com, and pretty much everything on that website, the bios, everything, Dr. Shawn bio, the phobia bio, the message, everything is all a real story and how that character came about. Mm-hmm. It was basically, I was a big fan of the face-painted characters like Sting and Ultimate Warrior. I love the larger-than-life characters, color comic book come to life sort of thing.
Yep.
It inspired me to build my body up, get in shape, and I'm a big kid. I love Halloween, and Boise, Idaho is where I was at, going to Boise State University, and I one summer, or actually it was more like the spring before the summer, before school was, we were doing final exams and whatnot, and basically I had bumps on my face, and I was feeling nauseous for a couple weeks, and I thought it was just stress from school. I went to the local student clinic there, where there's, physicians and whatnot, and I had those bumps checked out on my face, and I thought it was just stress, stress bumps, something, my body reacting, and they come back to me and tell me, hey, those aren't stress bumps, those are spider bites. And the irony is that for 2 weeks straight, I felt at night, I saw a little debris on my face, because in the dormitory where I stayed at the time, on campus, we didn't have air conditioning. I had a fan on with the windows open, and so it would blow debris around, and, that would happen, dust, whatever. You're thinking that's just all it is, just dust or some debris. But little did I realize at the time that they were little spiders that were crawling, I guess attacking me more or less. And so I started looking around the room, and I ripped my bed apart. Underneath, I looked, there was a spider nest underneath my bed. It's a true story. So later that Halloween in October, I was tired of being wrestling characters, tired of being Ultimate Warrior one year, being Rick Rude the next, then being Sting the following, so forth. So I finally just said, I'm going to do my own character this year, and I just started, so what can I paint my face that would cover my entire face and have like a cool looking symbol or an emblem? And I came up with the spider because it was Halloween. And then as I had the spider drawing on my face, I just muttered one word in my breath when I saw the reflection in the mirror, and it was the word phobia, that I had a fear of spiders. Of course, fear of spiders is arachnophobia, but I just thought a one-word name would have been, it was suiting. So basically, I got on the local Channel 7 News at Boise because they were starting heavyweight for the Boise State wrestling team, Division I. We were in the Pac-10s, so I had a good relationship with the sports department, and I did a safe trick-or-treating for the kids in the community, which was, my PSAs that I do. But I used that footage to send to WWE because there was no formal professional wrestling training in Boise. The closest place was in Portland, Oregon, where I had gone the previous summer, 1996, and had 10 untrained matches on a local TV show. So I kind of broke in the business without even being formally trained. I really got my formal training when I sent the phobia footage to WWE, and at the time it was Bruce Pritchard, Jim Cornette, Jim Ross. They were in office, talent relations, and they bid on it. They called me and said, "Hey, we like you're an athlete, NCAA wrestler." Because I put together a little video package. I had the phobia character doing the PSA in the newsroom, and me wrestling, at the NCAAs, and also showcasing a little bit of just working out, just an overall kind of like a sizzle reel, And they bid on it, and that's what actually got that. Phobia character was the precursor that got me my tryout with WWE. But we never used it for a wrestling character, and then years later, fast forward, Hulk Hogan loved it when he was with TNA. He thought about bringing it in to bring Sting, basically either an ally or an adversary. And I thought that was really cool because Sting was one of my idols and as a teenager growing up, Steve Orton, who's actually a really good friend of mine. He's a great guy, probably one of the nicest human beings I've ever known. And especially coming from the wrestling business, it's very, very rare and uncommon. And, there's a lot of good people, don't get me wrong, and I'm just saying it's that nature of business. It's like, he's just such a good human being, man. And so I've stayed in touch with him over the years. But, yeah, man, we never used it. It never came to fruition. And so I'm just glad that it never became another face-painted wrestling character because it became more special to me, and I defined it over the years to fit more of a direct parallel, a theatrical expression of me and all the fears that I've faced over the years. fear of failure, fear of success, fear of rejection. And so I put a real meaning behind this thing, and I've got big visions with this thing. I've done some short films with it. I've got some big cinematic TV series ideas for it. And these are things that I'm going to be working on this year and into 2020, with some cinematic projects. So I've used it in schools for kids, the little ones, to speak at, to overcoming their fears, self-limiting beliefs, and then the anti-bullying movement I've used it for that. When I speak at corporations and more of the professional world, I don't paint up and show up at a corporate event, but I will make reference to the character and show clips from my short film, and I basically use those clips to drive home my points that I make about overcoming fears, because everybody in life, I don't care, from little kids to grown adults in the corporate world, have fears and live in some form of fear, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So I use it as it's very unique, it's dynamic, and it's different, right? And most people seem to think it's a kick-ass character, and not because I came up with it, but it's I think it's very cinematic, ready to be part of the Marvel family, hopefully one day, and hopefully one day soon.
Nice. That'd be great, man. I really really like the story, and I really hope that it goes well for you, man. All right, time crunch, man. I want to respect your time. I want to talk about Kurt Angle and then a couple of Ask Shawn questions, and then we'll talk. We got a lot of discussing to do after the show. Just just as far as the podcast, your visions and things like that. I'm looking forward to chatting with you off air. So let's talk about Kurt Angle. So Kurt Angle his last match is at WrestleMania. He's on his retirement tour. A few weeks on Raw and SmackDown he's been doing. But it's so funny because we talked a few weeks ago. We both agreed that we really enjoyed chatting with each other on air, that we wanted to bring you back again. And I was like, you know what? Now would be the perfect time, because you were the first opponent, the first live opponent, the first televised opponent for Kurt Angle back at the 1999 Survivor Series. So, and it's funny because his last match is next week, and you were his first match. So I'm really interested to get your thoughts on just the career perspective of Kurt Angle and the fact that you were the first person who he went against on television.
Yeah, I got a very interesting insight on that, and I'll share. I'm taking a sip of my water here. Hold on.
No worries.
I just got out of the gym. I was in the sauna. I always finish up with a sauna generally, and kind of get a little dehydrated, so it's important to hydrate. But the interesting thing with Kurt Angle is I met Kurt Angle in 1995 at the NCAA tournament in Iowa, and I was wrestling for Boise State. And I remember being introduced to him. I knew who Kurt Angle was because I was a very extensive amateur wrestler. I wrestled all through high school and college, Division I. And so I went to all the big tournaments, and NCAA doesn't get much bigger than that for college, And so I'm there in Iowa, and I knew who Kurt Angle was because when I was in high school, I lived in Toronto, a suburb outside of Toronto, I went to White Oak Secondary School in Oakville, Ontario, suburb out of Toronto, and all my buddies were football players, and I was really the only wrestler in our group. So I went on a couple of recruiting trips that were in driving distance from Toronto, and one of them was Edinburgh in Pennsylvania, and that's when I learned who Kurt Angle was then, because they said he's the defending heavyweight NCAA champion, and so I was kind of eyeballing to see who, and I would have been a freshman, and I think he was a junior at that time, so he was a little older than me, a couple years older, Kurt is, but anyway, so that's when I got introduced to who he was, and then of course later, a few years later, I was following him, for the 96 Olympics, and before that, though, the year before, when I was at the 1995 NCAA tournament, someone had come up to me and said, hey, let me introduce you to Kurt Angle. I said, yeah, I've been wanting to meet him because I respected him for his amateur wrestling. I was in the amateur wrestling community, so everyone knew who Kurt Angle was, because he was a world champ that year and became the Olympic gold medalist the following year. And so I remember I met him, and someone had when they introduced us, they said, this is Shawn Stasiak, but he's going to go into WWE when he's finished with his career here. His dad was a famous wrestler in WWE or WWF at the time. And Kurt was polite and shook my hand, and we didn't really talk a whole lot. I just said, hey, congratulations or good luck or whatever I had said to him about his upcoming feats as an amateur wrestler at that level. That's the highest level you can go. It's the Worlds and the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I could just tell that he wasn't a wrestling. We didn't talk about pro wrestling. He just kind of, his whole focus, his whole life was amateur wrestling. Was probably his eyes on the gold medal. So then years later, so he wins the gold medal, and then years later, when I'm in Stanford, we had those Dory Funk Jr. and Tom Pritchard were holding these camps. I'm sure you've heard of those through the waves and over the years. And so I was part of those. I was probably I think I attended most. I think it was Andrew Martin and I were tied for like 9 of them. They were brutal, man. They were week camps, and yeah, man. But I got to meet and work with. I was such a rookie. I had never been formally trained, and I just showed up there, and that's where I met Edge and Christian and Test and Prince Albert, and then they brought my first memories there. I don't want to get off topic here, but it was Yokozuna, Rodney, and that was my very first when I had my tryout weekend there in Stanford. I was greeted by Yokozuna, and I got to hang out with him for a couple of days. So that was how I kind of broke into the WWE, and God rest his soul. And so, yeah, but he was cool. He says, man, your dad used to give me nightmares when I was a kid, He used to tell me stories because he grew up, the Samoan heritage and such a deep lineage into professional wrestling.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was called back a couple months later to move to Stanford, and they put me on a developmental contract, and then they started holding these camps. Well, then I heard, because I was bored. I was always by myself, and they brought the Giant Silva in because he lived in New Jersey at the time. Draws was there. Darren Drozdov was there, in Connecticut, so I met him. I worked with him a little bit, but I think he was actually starting to venture out now and to make the main roster. I think he worked with ECW a little bit, but I would always look at the following month, like, hey, who's coming in? Who's for the next camp? Who are the talents coming in? Guys like Mark Merrill, Ahmed Johnson, John Tensa. These were names that guys that were already established, but they had been injured or they left for some reason and came back. They're just trying to get the rust off, so they would join these camps and be part of them. And so I was exposed to all these guys. Al Snow, some of the ECW guys came through. So it was great, man. It was just a wealth of wrestling personalities and knowledge and experience. You can imagine all shapes and sizes, and it was awesome. And anyway, so then someone had said, hey, Kurt Angle is coming here for a tryout, and I was excited. I was like, damn, Kurt's coming here, because I followed him in college, and I was a fan, support and pulled for him in his international wrestling career. So when he showed up, man, we kind of, I felt that we bonded because I was an amateur wrestler, and so I respected that, and I think he respected me for my being involved with amateur wrestling to the extent that I was. And so we just, I would show up with him early and do extra drills and help train him. I was still a rookie, but I was a little bit ahead of him as far as my training experience at the time. But they ended up putting us together. We traveled together for about almost a year when he was doing dark matches, and I was broken, my rookie year as a character meet. And so we worked on some spot shows together, had some dark matches, and I'll be honest, we had some great matches that were never televised. We just had a good chemistry, and I felt very comfortable working with him, and because I respected him as much as I did, and he caught on really quick, and then, the rest is history, man. He just took off and developed himself as a professional wrestler and became legendary Kurt Angle, not just for his amateur wrestling accolades, but his professional wrestling career. So, he's a Hall of Famer, man, on both levels of wrestling. So he made his debut against me at Survivor Series in 1999 at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. And it's funny because, I was tweeting at him, oh, by the way, I got my thought back about the Twitter thing. my coach, on a side note, was saying that, are you sure you didn't piss anybody off in the WWE? Like, someone who might have power could complain, or anybody could just bitch and complain to Twitter about me because they don't like me or something. I think that would be, I mean, wouldn't everybody's account get suspended then and be on mute if that was the case? Definitely. Are they that sensitive? Yeah. I don't know.
No, they're not.
You think that's possible? You think anybody could just complain and they're a Shawn Stasiak hater, so they're going to make up something and say something that could cause grief with my account? Do you think that's possible?
No. Like I said, unless there's someone's hacking it, that's the only way I can see it. But people,
that's
social media. It happens all the time. People say stuff all the time. It's people say stuff that's derogatory.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He goes, but Shawn, some of those people are bulletproof. I'm like, man, that is stupid. There's no way that you can have a public forum, because then everybody's account will get shut down. Correct. Because there's always somebody in the world that doesn't like Tony Robbins, or I don't like this guy. I got it out for that guy, or this. All their accounts will get shut off. I just don't think that's I don't think that's remotely the reason. No, but anyway, I tweeted at Kurt Angle saying, look, it started with you. It started with me. It's only appropriate that it ends with me. It comes full circle, Kurt. Let's run it back again. And I said it would be an honor to work with. It would be an honor to wrestle you, Kurt. And besides, it'd also be an honor to whip a legend's ass. And I would still #respect and wink at him, whatever. I respect Kurt Angle, but at the same time, I'm having some fun. I'm calling him out, and I had some fans say, "Hey, it's only fitting that he finishes a career with me." That was an idea, but because I've been gone for so long, I'm sure WWE's created. They didn't even remotely bite on it.
Yeah. Well, at least you can say that you were the beginning of Kurt Angle's career, and can nobody take that away. So, all right. So let's address a few.
Yeah.
Of these. Yeah. Can nobody take that away? Yeah. No, you're right, GHP. You're right. All right. So let's address some of these Ask Chris questions. Ask Shawn questions. Saw a couple. Okay, so
hey, wait! Don't ask. Hey, Chris, don't ask me, please. Don't ask me.
Don't ask you what?
Oh, you said axe, like a tool, like you're gonna axe me, like you're gonna cut me up.
No.
You mean ask? You're gonna ask me. I'm messing with you, man. I'm messing with you. Don't ask me
Shawn,
nothing.
guys.
Yeah, actually, I feel like I'm getting axed by Twitter. I'm getting axed already by Twitter.
Well, you won't get axed by me.
They're chopping me down. They're chopping my powers away.
Yeah.
Okay. I know, Chris. I know you love me, man. At least somebody in the world loves me.
Absolutely, man. For the sake of time, man, let's just do an express route on a few of these questions here. Rob is asking, what was your relationship like with Bruce Pritchard and Jim Ross?
Well, honestly, it's one of those relationships. Not good, man. Honestly, I don't have good feelings about it. And I want to say this with all due respect.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said the PG version, of course.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to use any profanity. I'm just saying that they weren't great. I mean, I don't think either one of them had my best interests. Jim Ross, I've always tried to be nice to the man. I always try to interact with them, but you get a feel for some people that you can just tell that they just don't care to be associated with you. They don't feel like being connected on a more personal level. And I always got that from Jim Ross. Like I was always bothering him. And I respect him for his commentary and his devotion and time and experience and wisdom in the professional wrestling business. I can never take that away from him, but I just felt that I never could get it right with him as far as feeling an authentic connection. Mm-hmm. So for whatever reason, who knows with that business, who gets in whose ear and how they form perceptions. But I don't think he had my best interest. honestly, I think he tried, but there's a resistance there, you know.
Yeah.
And with Bruce, you know, in the beginning, he was okay, but I don't know, man. I just think that I don't think he had my best interest either. I'm just being honest. And, you know, Bruce has been around the business for years, and he's got a very creative mind, and he's got a passion and love for professional wrestling. And I just think that there was a couple incidences, and, you know, my dumb ass when I was younger, you know, when I was new and a rookie, and I might have, you know, maybe I might have labeled myself a little bit backstage with, you know, being a little insecure about things, because I just wanted to succeed, and I didn't want to let my family name down, and I wanted to make sure that I was doing everything right, you know. And sometimes when you try too hard to do everything right, you do everything wrong, or you create like a stigma about you. And I think that he just kind of stirred I just don't think, I don't know, I don't think he helped me with it, you know. I think he just kind of, I just don't think he was really on my side, honest to God. I just don't, you know. So I got nothing bad to say about either one of them, but they're, you know, I definitely don't think I'm on there. I don't think I'm getting a Christmas card from them, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I appreciate that honesty. I mean, it's, you know, that was your experience with them, so you can't take away your experience with them, you know, as far as Jim Ross and Bruce Pritchard, and that was your genuine experience with both of them, and I think it's worth sharing. So I appreciate your honesty. Let's see.
Yeah, I would have liked to have been different, you know. And I'm a different man today, and they're different people. So who knows, you know, if we were in the same room or working together, I'm sure the relationship could be completely different. You know, I'm a different man now. Who knows? You know, it's all about timing and where people are at in their lives. But my particular experience with both of them was never. It didn't seem very positive. No. Yeah. Anyway, next question.
Absolutely. Wild Boy's asking, how was your time with PMS? Like, overall, what was your thoughts on your time with PMS?
You know, honestly, it was just a job, man. It was a character that I wasn't really excited about playing in the first place, but I just took the role like an actor would getting a role in a movie. Yeah. The girls were fine and easy to work with. Terry in particular had been around the business, so I actually, you know, she kind of smartened me up to some things as far as just little nuances and just little stuff that she, you know, I'd pick up on that she'd share with me, like, hey, you might want to do this or that, or wish. I think she had my best interest, you know. I like Terry. I thought, and I've always gone along with her, you know, professionally. And the other girls, Jackie was always cool. Mm-hmm. You know, and Ryan Shamrock at the time, I mean, she was just so new and green. I think you know, she was fine. They were fine to work with, man. They were just props, you know, for me, you know, with a character at the time. They were just working relationship, you know, but they were fine. I enjoyed working with them. They were fine.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, a couple more questions. Multi is asking, what's your relationship with JBL like?
Well, you know, it's one of these questions tonight. These are asking about people that I would say there had been some. Pardon?
I said hard hitting.
What's that, Chris?
The questions are hard hitting.
Well, tonight. I don't know about hard hitting, but they're just, yeah. JBL, you know, I had resistance with him in the beginning because I had heard he's kind of a bully and he's just very loud and brash, and I don't generally like those kind of people. After a while, you know, they get on my nerves, I want to shut them up. Mm-hmm. But I was new when I was there, and I just wanted to fit in, and I wanted, you know, backstage, and I wanted to be accepted as one of the boys and to flow with everybody. I think that, you know, in the beginning, you know, he's got that mentality of like college initiation. Let's mess with the rookies kind of thing. So yeah. I kind of just went with some things. Nothing was ever, you know, physical or anything. I wouldn't have stood for that, but it was more just little jabs here and there. And I would just, you know, and after a while, I actually thought it was kind of funny. I would actually laugh. And I think you realize that, you know, it's not getting under my skin, you know. In fact, I think it's actually kind of humorous. And, but there was a time there that I was getting fed up with it, with some of the badgering and the jabs, and kind of feel like maybe I was being picked on a little bit, And I finally just had enough, and I pulled him aside outside in the hallway. It was actually in England, I think it was, and in London. And I just said, look, it's going to have to stop. Otherwise, if we need to if we got to take care of this, let's just do it now. Because I was done with it. You know what I mean? Like after a while, it's like enough's enough.
Yeah.
Of course, there was no problem. Oh no, I'm just playing, just kidding. Whatever. So nothing ever happened. And after that, we had some good matches, like some hardcore matches, and I actually learned to kind of like him after a while. I actually started to grow on me a little bit. So I just think it was one of those things where, I don't know, you just kind of have to tolerate some things, and then you kind of get acclimated. And I like I said, I just got to a point where I just felt that enough was enough, and I had to finally say something and I was very serious about it. Like I was willing to, whatever it was going to take, if it had to get to physical blows, let's do it then. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it reminded me when I was picked on and bullied in high school, and I was like, this doesn't feel good, man. I don't like this feeling. I'm gonna have to stand up now for myself, and I don't give a crap about politics or don't. One of the things in pro wrestling is don't let the ribs affect you. If they see it affects you, it's going to make it worse. So you know what? After a while, you draw a line. When your bag's getting hidden and you're just getting picked on, it's enough. We're grown men here. Don't touch my personal stuff. Yeah. I'm here to work like you are. I'm away from my family like you are. Let's just have some fun. Let's work, take care of each other, and move on. We don't need any horseplay, and enough's enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Amen to that, sir. All right, last question. GHP's asking, who were some of your main road buddies in the WWE?
Well, I started, I traveled with Kurt Angle. That was probably my first travel buddy in WWE. And then when I went to WCW, Mike Awesome I became very close to Mike and his family because I lived in Tampa. Mm-hmm. And so when he showed up to WCW, I had seen Mike in the Gold's Gym that we trained in our town. I didn't know who he was. I'd never met him. He's just some big 300-pound dude with a mullet that had a bad, mean look on his face all the time. I said, who's that dude? Why is he always pissed off? I asked the guy who worked there. He's like, oh, that's Mike Awesome, man. He's a wrestler. He's a pro wrestler. He wrestles in Japan and ECW. I said, oh, I'd be damned. So then I remember a couple weeks later, I was watching an ECW show, and I saw him on there. I said, hey, there's that dude. He's on TV. I didn't even know who he was. Mm-hmm. And then when I saw him next in the gym, I went up and introduced myself, and he was really cool. We hit it off, and we became almost like brothers, man, for about 2 years. It's unfortunate that I had talked to him about a week before he took his life, and he sounded perfectly fine on the phone. He sounded happy, and that's why I was so dumbfounded and stunned when I learned, because I was like, man, I just talked to him, and he never showed any signs of, like he seemed like he was in a good place. So I just wish he would have reached out to me that night. I feel that I would have been able to intervene. I would have taken a flight that night or the next morning to go out and see him and take care of him,
Wow. Yeah.
So Chuck Palumbo was another guy I traveled with in WCW, and then of course when I went back to WWE the second tenure, Rob Van Dam and I hit it off, and we traveled together quite often. So he was like, again, it's funny, you travel with these guys, and you're on the road, you see them more than you see your own family, and it's funny because you develop like a brotherhood,
Yep.
And you're on planes together, you're traveling all over the world together, you're cooped up in rent-a-cars, and you're working the arenas, going to the next town, and and then the tour, the loop would end, and I remember I forget where we were, but Rob was getting ready to go take his, he had to go catch a flight to go back to LA where he lives, and at the time I was going back to Tampa, and it's kind of weird. I said, and that's when you kind of realize that you're connected to the person, and you have this kind of like this bond, this brother bond kind of thing. And I said, okay, man, I guess I'll see you, Friday, and it was kind of like one of those sad goodbyes, like shit, I feel like I'm, it just kind of, it was kind of a sad feeling, it's like a family, like a brother. So,
yeah.
That's when you know that you're connected with someone special, when you have that bond,
Yeah.
And Rob's a great guy, a good human being.
Yep. Awesome, man. Well, Shawn, it's been a pleasure coming on once again. Appreciate your time, and let the listeners know where to find you on social media.
Well, I appreciate it, Chris, and I'll, just text me a number. I don't know if I have your actual number. Just text it to me, and we'll talk maybe later in the week or something. I'd like to run a couple things by you regarding this podcast. It's a really, really professional, high-tech studio, and I'm working out a deal with this particular team. It's a media firm. One of my good friends owns it and runs it, and the production quality is just unbelievable. I'll have to work on the outreach and the marketing of the actual content. We can talk about those things, but I would like to get your insight on it. And, of course, may eventually, once I get some episodes going and some sponsorship and so forth, we get it rolling, I'll have you on.
Sounds good. I just texted you my number, too, so I'll be looking forward to chatting with you.
Okay, great, Chris. Well, thanks for having me on, and I'm glad we got through another one with all the tech issues. We did it again.
Right. Thanks a lot, Shawn. Have a good night, man.
Okay, you too. Take care. God bless.
Bye-bye. All right, Shawn Stasiak going forward in time, number 2. Thanks, Shawn, for coming on, man. all my guests know that it's a PG podcast, but he just let some fly today. It looks like it sounds like. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, thanks, Shawn, for coming on the show tonight, man. He's a nice guy, and yeah. All right, so listen, here a couple things. The quality, the audio on the show has been quite crazy. But we have like 20 so minutes, but we're going to have some fun regardless. We're going to have lots and lots and lots of fun with the time that we have, because all the glitches and technical difficulties. So what we're going to do is we're going to have some fun and start the show. So we can listen. Let's go right into the headlines. First of all, let's bring on my boy Evan Tech Proud. How are you tonight, sir?
No, brother. Got a new name for you. I believe it's called Shadow. Who called you that? Was it the Mo? They called you Feather Orange.
Yeah, it's so funny because
you had the orange shirt.
You guys are colorblind because my shirt is red. It's a Popeye shirt, actually.
Well, look.
Probably sounds. It probably looks orange.
Speaking, and I don't know if I ever mentioned this on your show. Chris Ornstone. All right. Most people don't know, I have a degree in arts. So I had to take all of those color theory, marketing classes for my business, all of that. So depending on what ray of light hits your shirt, depending on what color you match it with another, orange can look like red and vice versa.
Sweet.
But still, your name is Orangestone.
No, it's Featherstone. All right, so here's the deal. Let's zoom through these headlines, zoom through Raw and SmackDown. I want to get into these controversial questions and these WrestleMania predictions. Rob said it's Mania time. We got to talk to man. Yes, absolutely. Who's going to Mania, actually?
Looking like...
Who will be there Mania weekend? Let me know. Might have a P&P breakfast or something like that. I'm going to be so busy from Thursday all the way to I leave Monday morning, and I'm going to be super duper busy. So just let me know if there's a group of people, 6 or 7 people. Let me know if you're going to Mania, and so we'll make it happen. We'll have a P&P show maybe, and if there's enough people, I can bring some wrestlers with me who's there over the weekend as well to do some Q&A. So just let me know. We'll play it by ear. All right. Ask Chris question. I saw one. Cody's asking, do you see Gronk and Conor McGregor as future stars in WWE? Gronk retired from NFL at 29. But like I said on my show before, I think for Gronk, I think he's going to be somehow affiliated with the XFL. I really think XFL is his future. I don't know if it's playing. He's only 29. I mean, like he's a young guy. So I don't know if it's something backstage related or actually playing or coaching. It could be a coach. It could be a GM. Well, they already have all that executive stuff, but he could be into some executive role or something like that. But I personally think that he'll be affiliated with the XFL in some reason. I don't see Gronk as a wrestler. I just don't see that. I don't know. Some like nowadays, if you're a celebrity, if you want the celebrity rub, like you really gotta be into it as well. You know what I mean? You can't just come and do a few shoulder tackles and be like LT at WrestleMania 14. It was 14, wasn't it? With LT and Bam. Yeah, because 15 was what was 15? Was that Taker and Sid? What was 15?
No, 15 was Rock and Austin. 1.
But that wasn't the main event, though. They main evented 17 and 19.
15 it was.
Was it Rock Austin?
Rock and Austin was 15, 17, 19.
Yeah, I know they did every other, but I don't think they main evented 15. I know they main evented 17 and 19.
Yeah, they main evented 15. I had the DVD, and it had that crappy music on there.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I do know that they did
Which
every
is the lesser
other.
than matches.
I do know that they did 15, 17, and 19. Was that Taker Boss Man? Was that 15?
Yeah, that's the main with the Hell in a Cell.
Oh, that was
that
terrible.
WWE on purpose left out of the Hell in a Cell DVD set.
Was that MSG? Or was it in Philly? Let me see. Yeah, Philly.
I think that one was in Philly.
That was in Philly.
I think so.
And the card was.
It was bad. That mean it was bad.
Hardcore Holly defeating Al Snow and Billy Gunn. Triple threat hardcore match. That match wasn't too bad. Jeff and Owen against D'Lo and Test for the tag team titles. Oh yeah, the Brawl for All finals when Butterbean beating Billy Gunn in 35 seconds. Mankind and Big Show for the special guests. Okay. Yep, Taker, Boss Man, Hell in a Cell. Shane and X-Pac for the European title. Shane won. Sable and Tori. Kane beating Triple H by DQ. Road Dogg retaining the Intercontinental Championship in a 4 quarters match against Goldust, Ken Shamrock, and Val Venus. All right. Yeah, so Austin Rock was 15 main events, and Mankind was the special guest rep. That's right. That's true.
That was one of the last Manias that Freddie Blassie was alive and did the voiceovers.
Yep.
Remember they used to use him for the voiceovers? So, yeah.
Yep. I do remember that. I remember that. All right, so without further ado, because I definitely don't want to responding to Shawn Stasiak. Shawn said, "Sorry, brother. I cussed at the end and caught myself. I said the S word." I know he probably did. He's a respectful guy, man. I know that he probably was like, "Oh."
We're live, pal.
All right. I'm texting him back. Let's see. All right, so we'll talk about that. All right, so you responded. All right, so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. Headlines, here we go. All right, so let's do it one by one. Hart Foundation officially inducted to the Hall of Fame. I mean, yeah, we knew that. But with no Jimmy Hart, though. I was surprised about that because the reports were saying Jimmy Hart. But no Jimmy Hart. That was a surprise. Funny enough, I actually saw Jimmy Hart at a indie show about an hour away from my house. I went. A lot of people saw it on IG that I chatted and took a pic with one of the GOATs, my number 3 of all time, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Me and my oldest son, and my oldest son Elijah. And it was great. It was cool because he was there. Honky Tonka Man was there. The franchise. Shane Douglas was there. Ricky Morton was there. It was pretty stacked cards. Good old Ricky. I've been to a lot of Bobby Fulton shows, and this one was one of the best. It was definitely a pretty stacked card. The main event was one of the indie talents, the Pittsburgh Steeler. He was teaming up with the Shane Douglas as the heels, and the babyfaces were Bobby Fulton and Ricky Morton, Ricky Morton, man, he still has a killer drop kick. I don't know how old he is. I can check and see how old he is. He has to be in his probably mid to late 60s, probably mid 60s, probably, or at least early 60s, because Sting is 60. I would say probably mid 60s now. Ricky Morton was born in 1956, so he'll be 63 this year. So yeah, 62. 62 was still a mean drop kick. How about that? Kudos to Ricky Morton for still making the drop kick look awesome. Where's the time, God?
Listen at Cody.
I saw that. Speaking of Sting, he's willing to come out. Here you go, Evan. Here we go. Willing to come out of retirement.
Yeah, because I thought about this on my show.
Against the Undertaker. So, yeah.
Real quick about the Hart Foundation. I talked to my good buddy Stevie Ray. Talked to him yesterday off air. Not gonna mention everything we talked about. I told him, I said, look, I was surprised. I thought, you got Harlem Heat, legendary tag team, my second favorite after the Road Warriors. I thought they was gonna wait till next year for the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, that's true.
But he made a good point. Natty is there.
Yep.
Jim passed away. Have him. I didn't know Jimmy Hart wasn't going to be inducted. He just told me. I just thought by default you can't have the Hart Foundation for Jimmy Hart. But oh well. I will say this, and I'm only saying this on live air with listeners because he told me. Jim the Anvil Neidhart told me about a year and a half ago to my face he really wasn't, to say in nicer terms, he wasn't too worried about going into the Hall of Fame. There never was anything that he really focused on. I guess he was just happy with his career and everything he did. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure Jim, definitely would have been happy to go in. Yeah. Because everybody isn't really too worried about getting into the Hall of Fame. But Sting, I told you, brother, faith of a mustard seed. The GOAT said it. The GOAT said it.
Man.
I'm not coming out until Taker. I'm sure Vince has heard it. With Taker being a born-again Christian, and Sting being a born-again Christian, and Shawn Michaels, come on, man. Vince heard it. Already got it planned out. Mania happens. Raw after Mania, in Raw, Taker comes out, have nothing to fight for, blah, blah, blah. Grant his vision, his long speech. Lights cut out, Sting show up, says nothing, points to back, points to WrestleMania, in the Raw. There you go.
No. Here's the thing. So Taker's supposed to be competing in Saudi Arabia. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to see Taker Sting at Mania. I don't want to. I just don't want to see it because I don't want to see Sting lose. Because Sting's.
You going to see it at Fastlane?
Sting's going to take the L. I don't want to see Taker Sting because Sting is going to take the L. Right now, Sting's WWE resume is very lousy, very, very lousy. It would be worse. I understand that Sting. That's just something that's itching to Sting. I get it. But I don't want to see it because Sting will lose again. His WWE resume has already been lousy. Lost to Triple H, which is probably a flavor of the week that we'll talk about. One of the here's the thing. I think that's the flavor of the week that we'll talk about. Remind me, PMP Nation. Remind me. One thing I do want to talk about was WrestleMania matches that had the wrong ending.
Shut up, GHP.
WrestleMania matches who had the wrong ending, and Taker versus Sting. Taker versus Lesnar was. I'll have my list, but Sting versus Triple H was definitely one of them. Remind me that WrestleMania matches who have the wrong winner. All right, so for the second time, we really got to zoom through this stuff. Do I think Bella Twins are going to the Hall of Fame? Yes, I do. I don't know if
they don't deserve it.
Yeah, they will. Do they deserve it? Okay. Next question.
No. More than Tori Wilson.
Let me see. I will say they do more than Tori Wilson. For what I've heard, Tori's super nice, but just because you're nice, God bless her.
Oh, she is.
Yeah, just because she's nice doesn't mean should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's my. I've given you my take on Tori before, but yeah, I don't. They'll probably be in the Hall of Fame. I'm sure they will. Opinion on these two thoughts. Cena steals the Corbin spot by handcuffing him or beating him down before the match. And two, does Ali turn heel and cost Kofi the title? No, I don't see them doing that with Ali. I can see that perhaps afterwards. Speaking of that, he's no longer Mustafa Ali now. He's just Ali, which...
No, that was bad.
I don't know what happens in these... productive, creative meetings.
I don't want you now.
I don't want Mustafa anymore.
I want
give him
Ali.
Give him. I want Ali. I'm like, I really don't. I mean, he's been Mustafa Ali. Like if he was coming from NXT to the main roster and did that change, I get it. Like from Rusev, he was Alexander Rusev. And they did just cut off Biggie Langston. They cut him off. They cut his Langston off. They cut was it Antonio Cesaro. They cut that off too. But
you know what?
But even
real quick,
Cesaro.
One thing I forgot about.
Hold on, real quick. Cesaro and Rusev still sounds okay, but Ali, no,
right.
It's terrible.
Do you guys remember this? The Ryback? Even I forgot about that. My fan said that earlier on my show.
The Ryback.
It was the Ryback to Ryback. I'm like, Dave Bautista.
Yeah, I remember Dave Bautista.
Or Bautista.
Or Deacon Batista. Yeah. All right. So, social media goes in uproar over Asuka's women's title loss. Brandon's asking, do I think Big E was, do I think Big E is turning on Kofi? No, I don't. I just don't do it. Don't end the New Day. Like, breaking up the New Day would be absolutely terrible. All three of them would just be pointless. I mean, just as, not as a unit, I think it would just be terrible. They'll just be mid-carders. They'll be jobbing out again. It's terrible. It'll be terrible. Speaking of jobbing out, why in the world one of the best women's wrestlers on the entire universe losing to that, and it had to be, and obviously it was, oh yeah, but the Cena thing. I don't see Cena. I don't even see Cena wrestling. I mean, because of his movie commitments, they have really big strict liability things on that, and just because he's a Hollywood star now, if it does, it's probably a spot with Elias. Yeah, I mean, he had a spot with Elias last year though, so 2 years in a row would be awkward. If Taker came out and choke slammed Elias, perhaps, I don't know. I don't want a Taker match. I've said that before. Him appearing in some fashion, perhaps, especially if he's going to be on the Saudi Arabia show. But a Taker match, I don't want to see it. But yeah, as far as Asuka's concerned, man, what in the world? And this goes to show that like creative is just doing a terrible job booking people. I mean, obviously this was a knee-jerk decision. Like it's because so the women's main event official, and I've made it clear I don't want that. I think Kofi and Daniel Bryan is still the most emotionally bought into match right now. I understand the history and all that. I get it. But at the same time, it's like Daniel Bryan versus Kofi, as we saw on SmackDown. There's only, I mean, it's one of those strike while the iron's hot. The most emotionally invested match right now should be the main event, and it's for the WWE Championship. It should be Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston. If Becky wins the match, the crowd will go bananas. But she's been champ before, and there's never been a black champ. It's going to be the main event. People invested emotionally in Kofi more than anybody right now. Make it the main event. I mean, but at the same time, it's not ESPN worthy. It's not mainstream, and so they want the mainstream feel. So it seems like right now they just did a knee jerk reaction to the fact that creative came up, finally made it official, the main event, and they just threw the title on Charlotte at the expense of Asuka. Now, what? now what? What happens to Asuka? She could have had a WrestleMania moment as champ, because last year she lost to Charlotte, which would be another one of my matches that should have had a different ending. She shouldn't have lost to Charlotte last year. That was stupid. Because an undefeated Asuka against Ronda Rousey, to me, has much more appeal from a standpoint of a marquee. But they're plugging Charlotte as Flair's girl, Flair's daughter, and all that. So, yeah. Kimbo says Asuka deserves a main card match at Mania. I totally agree. I mean, they built her in NXT to be so amazing, and we'll talk about that in another show. People who they build so well in NXT, and just the main roster creative got to them and just did a terrible job. It's creative. Asuka is an amazing wrestler. Hits on every cylinder.
Yes, she is.
She has the appeal. She has the look. She has the international flair, and they're just treating her like crap creatively, and it's terrible. And it's sad because she can't do nothing about it. Other than just conceding to what they're doing. So, and it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. But all right, grades for Raw and SmackDown. Raw. Raw was tough for me.
It was bad.
I feel
Elias is purgatory.
Yeah, I feel sorry
for
Kurt
purgatory.
Angle,
like, what are y'all doing?
I really feel sorry for Kurt Angle.
Oh, don't forget.
Yeah.
Friendship Balor, he's going against Lashley again for the IC title again.
It'll probably be
How many times are we going to see the Revival face Ricochet and Black?
and lose to him.
35 times.
And lose to him.
Right.
That's the crazy thing about it. Really. It just really shows that they are just like playing with the Revival. Angle looked exhausted after his match with Joe. JSP says Raw C-, SmackDown B-. Yeah, I think that's about fair. I like the gauntlet for SmackDown.
SmackDown was better.
SmackDown's just been a better overall show. I mean, it just people are more emotionally invested in Daniel Bryan versus Kofi, and it's just been a better show.
And I love, and I like how the Usos gave respect to New Day, which really summed up the whole rivalry.
Yep.
And I'm with Kimbo's skills. Angle, I'm sorry, Batman 1989 neck. Angle, and I've interviewed Angle. I've had breakfast with Angle last year. He was at the same hotel. He can't move his neck. And I'm sure WWE told his wife to take down her tweets. Take it down, Angle. Tell her.
Yeah, they did tell her to take down his...
It was like Corbin faulting for the Mighty Ducks. Come on, man.
Yeah.
No
the only reason why I'm not as critical on Corbin as everybody else is because it'll give Angle a win. Like, I don't see Corbin going over Angle. And it makes sense because Corbin beat Angle on a regular episode of Raw. So, from a sympathy standpoint for Angle, I want him to win. We got a comment saying Asuka versus Ronda is more appealing to me. I mean, I'm sure that we're not alone. I'm sure that we're not alone, Kevin, on that.
And it's so sad. Real quick, we got Raw, we got Angle and Joe, and we know about 5, 6 years ago, they tore the house down. Great matches in Cross the Line, TNA, Impact, Anthem,
that was probably like
whatever you called it.
Oh goodness, that was probably 08.
That'd be like 5, 6 years ago.
No, it was probably about 10. Let me see.
Was it 10 years ago?
Yeah, it was probably
maybe longer than that. You're right.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Good God, you're right. It was
Lockdown 2008, Hard Justice 2007. Yeah. Yep. So 11, 12 years ago.
So you're right. Over 10 years ago, Tom D. Fly, Angle and Joe just turned down the house matches. And then WWE isn't going to give, of course, no other company credit ever unless they get paid for it. And we see this. The match wasn't even WWE medal level.
Oh goodness!
And Angle was my top 5.
And Angle's slam on Orton. Oh man.
Told you that 89 neck, man. You can't do. You can't. And I love Angle. And I know I'm joking about the 89 neck. It's just one of my buddies who has been removed from wrestling. Anytime I get a text message that's like, bro, and he didn't use Christian words. What is going on with Angle? He looks bad. He looked exhausted. It's sad, man. It's just.
Yeah, it is. Wild Boy says Raw D, SmackDown A, DX Raw D, SmackDown C. All right. Trivia. Who won the Women's Championship at WrestleMania 19? All right, so let's do WrestleMania predictions real quick, and then let's get to. We only got like 7 minutes or so. So let's get to the predictions real quick. I think it's like 13. Yeah, 13 matches, and none of them are tag team, except for the women's tag team. Let's do Brock and Seth. Who you got?
Sadly, Brock.
Good job, Monty.
I'm tired of Brock, but sadly, if Brock can defeat Taker and Goldberg and everybody else, It is no way it is believable that Burn It Down, whatever it is down, Architect, whatever you call him, is Seth Rollins is going to beat him.
Yeah.
No,
well, I agree.
No way.
I agree. All right, real quick. Most say Brock, and most say Seth. All right, real quick. I say Brock, and I said this real quick before. I said I tweeted this. I think that the Andre Battle Royal every year, I think that should be the number one contender since the Raw after Mania has become like a pay-per-view quality. I think that it should be a number one contender for the Universal Championship on the Raw after Mania. And I think that Braun should win the Andre Battle Royal and beat Brock on Raw the next night. that would be something I think that should happen. All right, real quick. Ronda, Becky, Charlotte. Who you got?
Gotta give it to Becky.
Yep. Yeah, I can see Becky.
There's no other way.
I can see Becky too. Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese, Cruiserweight Championship, which I think will be on the pre-show.
Tony Nese is a good guy too.
A few minutes.
Becky, Buddy. Just keep it up. Keep up with Buddy.
Yeah, I can see that too. Triple H Batista.
Come on now. The chaperone.
Yeah.
This match is only 15 years in the making.
Yeah, Triple H.
Triple H.
Shane and Miz.
Gotta go. Gosh, no one cares about this match. The Miz is going to win. He has a baby. You can't have a man who's about to be a kid again.
Yeah, Miz.
Be his dad again, leave a match.
AJ and Randy.
Whew. Man, that could go either way. I give it to AJ.
Yeah,
AJ needs something.
I agree, AJ.
Orton doesn't. What else does Orton need to do?
Who wins the Andre Battle Royal?
That'll probably be the best match. Gosh, I'm looking at Rob's West comment of all the people win it. Didn't Braun win it already? You got the Hardys and the Bar. Owens. You got all this good talent being wasted. Royal. I guess Braun. Braun and Shinsuke. I'm just throwing the name out there.
I agree, Braun. Joe and Ray.
Who you say?
Braun. Joe and Ray. Tammy says on July.
Joe and Ray.
Okay.
Ray. Joe's gonna get smashed again. He's gonna get.
I think Joe. I think Joe. I think Ray eventually, but probably Joe. Joe would choke out Dominic or something like that. All right. All right. Lastly, and Finn will probably be Demon Finn.
Oh gosh, friendship Finn.
Yeah, I'll say Finn. Roman and Drew.
Hope it be Drew. Give it to Drew.
Oh no.
But they're gonna go for Roman because he came back from leukemia.
Yeah. We'll give it to Reigns, man. Feel good moment. Women's 4-way for the title.
That's a Becky Lynch already?
Huh?
Yeah, I think it's a Becky Lynch, right?
No, the 4-way.
You talking about Sasha Bailey?
The
segment.
tag.
Sasha Bailey. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree.
Sasha Bailey.
Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston.
Should be Kofi, but it's not main eventing. Got a feeling Daniel Bryan gonna win and they're gonna push it for the next 2 months.
You know what? I'm just gonna go with what I want, man. Kofi. Who did the Undertaker compete against at WrestleMania 18? That's the next trivia question. All right, real quick. We only got one question for the flavor of the week, so let's do this real quick. I'm sorry, guys, we only have a couple of minutes because of all the crazy difficulties.
Sure.
All right, so let's do flavor of the week.
It is now time for the flavor of the week.
All right. All right, here we go. Still got this thing here. So let's just real quick. Controversial question is and Ric Flair. Good job, guys. Ric Flair. Controversial question is: baby faces and heels should never go away in professional wrestling. Baby faces and heels should never go away in professional wrestling. I 1,000,000,000% agree with that statement. 1,000,000,000%. Got to have a good guy and a bad guy, because you'll have people going. You have people just going for different sides, and got to have a good guy and bad guy. It's comic book come to life. If you have a mixed reaction toward the same person, then they're not doing their job as a villain or a hero. Mixed reaction. If I was a wrestler, I would hate to be a mixed reaction wrestler, 100%, because I'm like, okay, I'm not doing my job well. I want to be the most hated wrestler or the most lovable wrestler. That's just how it is. And pro wrestling is what I said on the question, Robin. Pro wrestling. All right. So here's the fun thing about next week. Mostly people are agreeing. Yep. If not, the crowd would eventually make someone a heel. Good, really, really good point Kimbo made. All right. So next week is the 7-year anniversary show. We've got some really, really, really good 90 seconds surprises for you all. So y'all just sit tight and get ready to have some fun. It's going to be Plan B. No restrictions, no crazy countdowns or crazy technical issues. Plan B, restrictions are off. We're going to have some fun at the 7-year anniversary. 2 live interviews and working on some other things. There's going to be a bunch of surprises for everybody. It's going to be so much fun. 7-year anniversary show next week. So come PNP Nation. Tell your friends. Share. Let everybody know that the 7-year anniversary show next week is going to be good. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, 365 episodes in the book. Thanks to Shawn Stasiak for the live Q&A. Thanks so much for the PNP Nation. Until next week, enjoy your week of wrestling. God bless. And always remember,
good night, guys.
Have a good night, everybody. You messed my I do it for you, Evan.
Good night, guys.
I do it for you. Have a good night. Bye-bye.